Today, we are answering two extremely important questions. Number one, how much money would you have made if you invested in one booster box from each and every set in the Sword and Shield era at the time of release? And number two, is investing in booster boxes still a viable strategy as the Scarlet and Violet era approaches? Today, we're going to be answering those two questions. Let's get into it. Okay, so the Sword and Shield era had 12 main sets in it. The first one came out in February 2020, and that was the Sword and Shield base set. And then roughly every 3 months after that, a new set was released, leading all the way up to Silver Tempest, which came out in November of 2022. That is the 12th set in the series, and it's going to be the very last one. With Scarlet and Violet just around the corner, I wanted to determine just how well we could have done if we bought one of those boxes at the time of release for each of those sets and then sold each of them in today's market. Would we be profitable? If so, how much? Let's take a look. Okay, so before I get into the numbers, there's two assumptions that everything that I'm about to tell you is based upon. The first is that we were able to buy each box at an average cost of $105, and that's $105 after taxes and shipping. Now, I know that some sets you could have gotten it for far less than $105, and some would have been a real challenge to get it at $105 after taxes and shipping. Things like Evolving Skies were somewhat of a challenge to get that low, even at their lowest point. Assumption number two is that when we sell our boxes, we're going to include a standard TCG player fee, which is 10.25% as a base fee, and then there's an additional 2.5% credit card processing fee, plus another 30 cents on top of that. So that comes out to 13.75% fees, plus an additional 30 cents. Okay, so here's the data that I came up with. As you can see, I have all 12 sets from Sword and Shield on the screen with an average purchase price of $105 each. Now, the market price value comes from a combination of sources. It comes from TCG Player and PokéData, which pulls from eBay wherever it was available for these sets on PokéData. Where I was able to get prices for both, I averaged them out. In some of the cases, the data was only available on TCG Player, so I used those prices just as the going rate for that set. And of course, all this data is as of December 8th. Now, where it gets interesting is when we start looking at our profit and our loss on each of these sets after fees. As you can see, the earlier sets in Sword and Shield have appreciated a fair amount, and we would be in the green if we sold them today, even after we took out that 13.75% plus 30 cents in fees. Now, when we get to the middle of Sword and Shield, you can see there's a couple sets, Battle Styles and Chilling Reign, that are not in the green yet, though I think Chilling Reign is on its way up, and if you look at recent trends, it's going to be in the green soon, but Battle Styles is still struggling quite a bit. Now, the big winner here, though, is Evolving Skies, and I don't think any of us are probably surprised by that, but if you had invested in Evolving Skies at $105, which would have been tough, you would be almost $100 up even after seller's fees. Fusion Strike still struggling. Brilliant Stars, we all know that's a great set, and I think it's going to continue to climb pending a reprint, which may or may not come down the road. But the latest sets just haven't had enough time to appreciate yet, so you would actually be in the red if you bought these at $105 each. So with all this data in front of us, if we sold all this, what would be the total return on investment? Now, what most people would tell you is they wouldn't take these fees into account, and they would say, oh my gosh, we are up 32.81%, and that's before fees. That means we've invested $1,260, and our collection is now worth $413.38 above what we paid for it. But here's the deal, y'all. We all know that's not the real world. When you go to sell, you're gonna be paying fees of some sort, whether it's shipping, whether it's marketplace fees. There's going to be an additional cost to sell your product. So I wanted to be more realistic, and I actually took those into account, like I showed you. The real ROI is 14.26%, which is honestly a little bit lower than I probably would have expected. I thought we were going to be closer to that 20% mark, but this is the reality of the thing. After selling, we would have incurred $233.69 in marketplace fees, meaning our $1,260 investment would have a $179.69 profit. It's not bad, but honestly, I would have hoped we'd done a little bit better. 14.26% over the course of investing in these products for the last 3 years really isn't that amazing. So what are the takeaways? Let's talk about it. Okay, so the main takeaways that I'm getting from this data are threefold. Number one is that it's still a little bit too early to know just how profitable the Sword and Shield era as a whole is going to be when it comes to investing in booster boxes. Those later sets, some of them just came out only a few months ago. Silver Tempest just came came out last month, which means it just hasn't had enough time to appreciate and value yet. But I do think that those sets are going to get there. Lost Origin's a great set. Chilling Reign's a great set that's going out of print. Silver Tempest has the Lugia. Astral Radiance isn't a bad set. It's not top tier, but it's not terrible either. And ultimately, I think that we would have a very different answer to how profitable a Sword and Shield investment in each booster box would be here in a year. And it's something that I actually want to come back and look at a year from now to see how the landscape has changed and if our answer would have been different if we had just looked at it a little bit later down the road. Observation number 2 is that some of these sets were printed into absolute oblivion as a result of the pandemic and people going into Pokemon hype mode. There was a surge of new collectors that entered the market, and that of course drove Pokemon to print more product so that there was just a ton of it flooding the market, basically from battle styles on. So even once those sets go out of print, it's going to take some time for the market to churn through that product, for it to start appreciating in value. And I think that we're just going to see it steadily climb over time for many of those sets that came out beyond battle styles and Chilling Reign and onward. Takeaway number 3 is that we don't have a Sun and Moon situation on our hands here, y'all. A lot of people think that because Sun and Moon booster boxes appreciated so quickly that the same thing's going to happen for the Sword and Shield era, and I just don't think that's going to happen. The reason why is because during the Sword and Shield era was when we had a huge influx of people into the market, and collecting sealed product became way more fashionable and more popular. So a lot of these sealed products in the Sword and Shield era were stashed away more so than they were in the Sun and Moon era. On top of that, the Sun and Moon era products weren't printed nearly as much as the Sword and Shield era products. And when that new influx of collectors entered the market, a lot of them went back and said, wow, there's a lot of cool stuff in the Sun and Moon era. We want to buy it while it's still somewhat cheap. And that, of course, increased the demand on those products, which increased the prices, causing them to soar way faster than we've ever really seen the prices of booster boxes climb at any point in Pokemon's history. So if you're holding on to Sword and Shield era booster boxes and products, thinking that when we get into the Scarlet and Violet era, that they're going to do the same thing that Sun and Moon products did, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. So don't count on that. Okay, so that all begs the question, is investing in booster boxes still a good idea as we move into the Scarlet and Violet era of Pokemon cards? In my opinion, it is absolutely still a good idea, but you do have to be smart about it, because now Pokemon is printing more products than they have ever before, and more people are collecting sealed products than what I think has ever happened before in Pokemon history. So you have to be more selective, and you have to be more strategic in what you do. You can't just go blindly pick up every single set, treating it as if it's equal, because just like most things in the Pokemon card market, not all booster boxes are created equal. In my opinion, what you're going to want to do is you're going to be more selective about which boxes you invest more heavily in. So moving forward, whenever a new set is released, you're going to want to do some evaluation and analysis on that set before you go in heavy on it. You want to determine, is this going to be an S tier set or an A tier set? Think sets like Evolving Skies or Cosmic Eclipse or Evolutions, things that collectors are going to want not just in the near term, but also in the long term, and that's going to maintain value and continue to grow at a more rapid pace than other sets. And at the same time, you're going to want to possibly pass on some of the lower tier sets, things like battle styles that just aren't as popular, they don't have as many big hits in them, things like Crimson Invasion or even Steam Siege if we go back to the X and Y era of things. Those sets have performed significantly worse over time than many of their peers that come from the same era. So we want to be extremely careful about which ones we invest in and which ones we invest in heavily. But how do you know which sets are going to be stinkers and which ones are going to be winners? Well, for me, there's really 3 things that I look at when I'm evaluating a new set that's just coming out on the market. Number 1, I look at the amount of hype in the community both before release and about 2 to 3 months after release. Are people still excited about it? Are people still opening it? Or have they just completely moved on and don't care about that set anymore? If it's the latter of those things, then it may not be the best set. That's not the only indicator you should look at, but it is one sign that you need to take into account, is whether or not people are excited about it now, because if they aren't excited about it now, there's a decent chance that no one's going to be excited about it in the future. Thing number 2 that I look at is how many cards are there above $30 about 2 to 3 months after the set releases, because when each set releases, FOMO is through the roof. People are buying cards at a way higher price point than they should be at any point in time. And ultimately the prices of those singles start to drop. But about a month, 2 months, 3 months into a new set, they start to level out, and you can start to get a better idea of how many cards there are, what pull rates are like, and what kind of value the singles in that set are going to carry over time. And if there's a lot of cards above $30, look at sets like Evolving Skies. Chilling Rain is actually a great example of that. Along with a few others, and you'll be able to see what makes a set valuable, because a set is valuable because of the cards within it. And the third thing you're going to want to look at is the popularity of the Pokemon within the set. If the set contains a lot of popular Pokemon, especially on the chase cards within the set, that bodes well for it overall. But if it includes some lesser known Pokemon, some less popular Pokemon, then the set might struggle a bit more than some other similar sets within that era. Obviously, if the set has a Charizard sets tend to do pretty well, but so do sets that contain some of the evolutions, so do sets that contain some of the popular dragon Pokemon, and there's a handful of other popular Pokemon out there that people really like to collect. So keep an eye out for that when you're evaluating whether a set is going to be good or not. And if you subscribe to my channel, I will be showing you in the future what sets I believe are going to be top tier sets and which ones I might be passing on. Every month I put out a video of cards and products that I'm investing in, and I show you exactly what I buy them for and exactly how they continue to perform over time, month after month. But if you really want to be in the know, join my Discord server. It is full of people from all over the world, really savvy collectors and investors of Pokemon who can help you answer whatever question might be on your mind and will help you keep an eye out for the things that you want to be collecting and things maybe to pass on. From deal recommendations to collecting and investing strategies to just having people like you who have the same hobby as you to talk to anytime you want, it really is the best 24/7 Pokemon card party on the internet, hands down. If you want to join that Discord server, there's a link down in the description below. But for today, that does it for my video. I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.